We need to talk about how consumerism is out of control. I love buying new things, new shiny gear, new clothes, new whatever. There's that potential that comes with a new product that just feels like what wasn't possible before finally is. But the truth is, you get over it after like 2 weeks. Wow, there's a lot of traffic. I hope this is not getting picked up. You're really just buying a buzz. For 2 weeks or so, you'll be super hyped about whatever it is you just bought. You'll be obsessed with it. You'll tell everybody about it. And then once that time goes by, it'll blend in like every other thing that you own in your life. I don't know who said the saying, but you don't own your belongings. Your belongings own you. So I thought I'd share my recent self-rediscovery of how bad of a problem this is, for me personally, with starting YouTube, making videos. I wanted to start making videos using my DSLR lenses on my Canon full frame body because, well, full frame looks cool. You get the blurred background, you get the separation, the greater control with the lenses, the sort of feel or vibe that you can get depending on what you use for the focal length. I'm all about that. But the issue is I have a 5D Mark III. So for those of you that don't know camera history, this camera came out in like 2012 before more people were using pro grade cameras to record themselves. You could always manual focus. You still could, but it's just a lot more effort and work than having something that has a little box over your eye that perfectly tracks your focus. This is literally as set it and forget it as it gets, right? At least for YouTube. You don't really need much more than this. So I had the 5D. I tried running Magic Lantern on it, and I still couldn't get the focus consistently right. If you watch some of my older videos, the last couple videos, you'll see that one is relatively sharp, and then the other one's like real soft. But neither of them are like crazy sharp. And I don't really care about sharpness, all right? I just want to be able to sit down and release this. To minimize friction in this process is all I'm going for. That's something that's really important when you buy something. You don't want to just buy something because it's cool. I mean, sometimes that's nice, but let's try to be a little utilitarian with our purchases. So I started making videos now for this YouTube channel. I quickly ran into that hurdle of trying to get my focus set up right for different shots, being more dynamic. Talking head like this is not that difficult to set up. I get it, but I want to do more than this. So I said, all right, let me cop a Canon mirrorless camera and then just use their adapter. It makes the older lenses focus more consistently and faster. There's really no downside besides that extra length you're adding to the lens. Then again, if you look at the RF glass, that's the same equivalent as the EF. They're like almost the same length. It's almost like there's a physical constraint here and not so much a camera system constraint. So just my 2 cents there. Before I bought the Canon R8, I looked at a bunch of video reviews just to make sure that I was making a reasonable purchase, all right? I didn't want to buy something either overpriced or that had way more features than what I needed. And there was a little thing that I noticed. This is especially prevalent in photography. If you're familiar with this, comment down below, because I swear this is like a plague with at least YouTube photography and maybe just photography in general among professionals, right? And it's that there's this obsession with price relative to expectation of quality. Here's the reality. A good photographer with a $300 full frame camera or whatever their setup is going to do better at taking phenomenal photos than a so-so photographer with a $3,000 zoom lens, $5,000 body. You get the point. Now, get 2 pros that are relatively similar, slightly nicer body. Again, one might still do a better job because, hey, they're already familiar with this body they've been using for years and years. Now the other person hopped on something new. Every new platform, it's always got these little quirks. There's obvious advantages, but the disadvantages are what people like to look over. Another thing is this sort of elitism around the prices where I've heard things as absurd as, this camera body doesn't feel like something under $3,000. Oh, really? Well, why don't you tell me what something under $3,000 feels like? Because last I checked, all these pro bodies are just magnesium alloy since the 5D days and probably before that. What else do you expect with the feeling there? It creates this disconnect between the average person that just wants to get a well-priced piece of gear and a supposed balls to the wall, needs every checkbox checked pro photographer that cares about all of these things. And I think the truth is that most people that are pros are probably so in their own cycle of how they do things that these little changes, comparing a lens that came out 10 years ago that was a pro level lens to one that just came out 3 years ago, that's also a pro level lens. Oh my, the corner sharpness is a little better. Pay $3,000 instead of buying the old version secondhand market for like 5 or 6. That extra $3K is totally worth it, right? This is a long-term investment. Sure. So bringing it back to the point of the video, this consumerism thing, it's taken over. It's taken over everything. You can't watch a video now without sponsorships, without people pushing products, splitting hairs on the teeniest of differences. And then you fall into this rabbit hole of, should I buy this? Should I buy that? Oh, you'll just get done buying one thing and say, I totally need to buy this because this would be amazing to be able to do this and this with. And I get it. That's the fun part about photography or any sort of art. You get to explore a bunch of different avenues for creating, and that's awesome. We got to remember that it's not the camera or the lens that's bringing this image in front of everyone else. I mean, literally it is, but before that is you. Without you, these photos wouldn't exist in the first place. It doesn't matter what camera body you have. So if you're a pro or aspiring pro or YouTuber or whatever, just try and get the best you can get that's reasonably in your budget and that has the features that would be the most useful to you. Like, I don't need to shoot in like 7K, record it externally, raw, and all this other stuff. I don't care, all right? I'm just trying to get like a clean 4K video and autofocus. Boom. So like the R6 II, the R8, hell, probably even the RP shooting in 1080p for like $600 would be a way more reasonable purchase for me than a $3,000 Sony body that can shoot it like at 4K 120 because it sounds good. How practical is that? How much of a big deal? You just have to think about what actually tips the boat here and what just sounds cool. I will say though, using the R8 and then switching back to the 5D Mark III, this thing is a chonker. I do appreciate the grip width. I know the Pro mirrorless bodies have that taller grip here, so it's easier to... Oh, can we focus on that? Yes. They've got that taller grip, which is awesome, which this R8 doesn't, but it's not that big of a deal. Just grip it a little differently. You're good to go. Sigma 24-35, f2. Can we get focus? Gorgeous lens, pretty sharp, wide open, all that nice stuff, right? But it goes with the micro adjustments. So for video, if I wanted to do like me holding the camera, forget about it. It's just going to be picking that up. Okay, the 85 1.8. Can we get it? Block my face. Yeah, the 85 1.8. Again, this came out in like 1992, and it's still extremely, not just viable, like it's a good lens, all right? You're going to have to deal with chromatic aberration with any photo that has a bright highlight. Like this fridge here would probably be half purple or half green with that 85 for the price. And it's so light. So I'm getting off the rails here. Remember what matters. You dictate what matters, not some advertisement, not some YouTuber saying, buy this product. Hey, I'm a YouTuber who has affiliations with big camera brands. I will now recommend that you buy this camera, but I'm not going to say that it's sponsored because it's not. They just send it to me so that I can review it and push the video out first and get hundreds of thousands of views, but it's not sponsored, okay? Not technically sponsored, so trust me. This is a specific thing I'm mentioning, but I bet you it happens all throughout. That's the trap with wanting to buy everything to fix all of your problems, is that any little problem, instead of you trying to be creative and solving it, turns into what's the cheapest thing I can buy? Or if you've got a lot of money, what's the most expensive thing I can buy to make this go away? Which just kind of wears you down at some point. Some of the best things I've created, either photo or video, have been just me in a little box having no choice but to do this exact thing and then figuring it out. I think that's the entire point of this craft, or of a lot of creative crafts. So try to not avoid that. Lean into the troubles, lean into the issues, try and think creatively, and then you could save some money. That never hurts. Well, we got a cherry Coke Zero for today, so it's a special day. Subscribe if you think Coke Zero is the greatest drink on earth. Or if you like Diet Coke, okay. Or Diet Pepsi. Fresca. We're just not drinking calories out here. Is that a reasonable thing? Okay. Take care.